Mutine, adjective. Used to describe an individual whose spirit is unyielding, unconstrained, one who navigates life on their own terms, effortlessly. They do not always show up on time, but when they arrive, you notice. An individual confident in their contradictions. They know the rules, but behave as if they do not exist. Mutine, the new fragrance by Miu Miu, defined by you.
Hello, and welcome to It's a Fandom Thing. I'm your host, Erin Marlowe, and each week I'm joined by a panel of guests to discuss all things fandom and pop culture, primarily from a female perspective. You'll find everything from fanfic, to cosplay, to Schitt's Creek, to Supernatural, and everything in between. So put on your favorite piece of fandom merch, set aside that fanfic that you're writing about your OTP, and sit back and enjoy this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to It's a Fandom Thing. I'm your host, Erin Marlowe, and it is Horror Month. Yay, not Horror Month, but Horror Month. I have such a hard time pronouncing that word, so I know I slip up sometimes and it sounds like I'm saying it's Horror Month, and maybe it is for you. I don't know. I'm not going to judge. But I am excited because we get to talk about 5 horror movies this month because we have 5 Fridays in October. Yay! And I'm excited because we are kicking things off with the 2025 film Sinners. So I'm excited to talk about this one with my amazing panel. So let me introduce them. First up from OK Real Quick, Carla. Hello, Carla.
Hello, Erin.
And next, I'm so happy that she is back. She hasn't been on in a while, except for on our pop culture episode from Wednesday. But I'm so glad to have her back in the rotation for this month. And that is Kim from Big Reputations Pod. So hello, Kim.
Hi, everybody. Happy spooky season.
And last but certainly not least is Tiff. Hello, Tiff.
Hi, hey, hello. Ooh, spooky. I'm ready.
Oh, man. I don't know what's wrong with me that was funny, but I mean.
I think I ended up being more Luther Vandross than spooky. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, vampires do live always and forever, so.
Okay, well, first up, I'm just going to let you know we are going to be spoiling this movie. So if you have not seen Sinners yet, you can go watch it on HBO Max. You can rent it maybe from your library. You can definitely rent it other places. There is talk that this is going to be re-released in theaters in IMAX, so keep an eye out for that. I think it's because they're going to be pushing this for awards season, so it doesn't surprise me. So keep a lookout for that as well. But so spoiler, this is your last warning that we're going to be spoiling this movie. Okay, first up, I'm going to give you some IMDb info and then a couple of trigger warnings. So Sinners is written and directed by Ryan Coogler, and it stars Michael B. Jordan, Miles Catton, Sorry. I hate the way sometimes IMDb lays out the characters on here where you're like trying to scroll up and down. They should be laid out the way that they have importance, and it's really annoying to me that they are. That's just my annoying. Wunmi Mosaku, Omar Benson Miller. I'll just start there because that's right below. Haley Steinfeld, Jamie Lawson, Delroy Lindo, and Jack O'Connell. And there are a bunch of other people too, but I'm not going to go through the whole list. And Sinners, this is from IMDb, the description. Trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers, Smoke and Stack, return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. It's okay. I give that maybe a 3.5 out of 10. I don't know.
That's pretty generous for IMDb.
Yeah. Okay, so trigger warnings: racism, vampires, so blood, sexual content. Racism is the biggest one. Am I missing something? Other than ones I've listed?
Not miscarriage, but like Like,
Oh,
I don't know. Maybe
Child
death?
loss.
I don't,
child
child
loss.
loss. There you go.
Child loss, yeah. Child loss. And you don't see the baby die, though.
No.
I'll say that.
Mm.
That's all I can think of. So, yeah. If I think of more, you can find the trigger warnings in the show notes as well. Okay, so what I first want to know, Carla, is on a scale of 1 to 5 cloves of garlic that you have to eat. I just added that now. What do you give Sinners?
I give Sinners 72 cloves of garlic out of 5. It's that good. Like, I'm sorry, but there are not enough cloves of garlic to properly reward this film.
Man, I'm going to be staying away from you for
I mean, I can't blame you, but also I'm not sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So, Kim,
So I agree with Carla. I'm giving it a Costco-sized bag of garlic. Throw it over your shoulder size bag of garlic. This movie is fantastic. I went in watching it ready to like disprove everybody who was like, this was so good. I was like, just, it's not. I'll watch it and I'll be the judge. And I shut up so quick. This movie's fantastic.
so again, I'm going to also be staying away from
Mhm.
Kim with all of that tons of Costco garlic that she's going to be consuming. So, Tiff,
So picture it. Sicily, 1920. I'm running my store, my little cart filled with garlic, and I have in there 922,000 cloves of garlic. And that's what I give Sinners. And it's potent because it's from Sicily. So you know it's because Sophia Petrillo.
That's the good garlic.
That's the good garlic. Sophia Petrillo, knows that Sicilians have the best garlic.
wow. I'm just thinking of like the smell of like all that garlic.
It smells fantastic. I don't know what you're talking about, Erin.
I'm weird. I do not like the smell of garlic. Like, I just like it in little tiny quantities. The smell of it. I'm just doing the regular. I give it 5 out of 5 cloves of garlic. So sorry, I'm being lame, but
Not everybody can handle the quantities of garlic that we aspire to.
yeah, exactly. So, Carla, what I first want to know is, well, that's not the first. I asked you the first question already.
What I second want to know.
So next, what I want to know is, I know this is hard to answer, and you're probably all of you hate me for even asking this question, but I did want to know who your favorite character is and why.
For me, frankly, it was very easy. It's Annie, hands down. Like, just absolutely. It wasn't even a hard one for me. Wumi was amazing in this role. This was, I think, just one of the most well-rounded performances just of the year for me, just in movies. She really had to come into this role with, it's a lot to carry because you have to, you have the burden of being, I'm trying to, I have so many thoughts, okay? And they're all competing right now. But pretty much what I'm trying to say is that Annie is an exceptional role in an exceptional movie. And it's a role that if you just look at the promo when the movie was about to come out, they don't really make a big deal about Annie. Like, Annie is there, but not the same way that even Mary is. Like, Mary is played up in the promos like she's going to be a big deal. And it ends up being Annie who's really the heart of the movie. I think a lot of things in the movie don't happen without Annie being there. Certainly, them even knowing what they're dealing with doesn't happen without Annie being there. Annie is very knowledgeable, and she has this the task of bringing knowledge and gravitas, but also not weighing it down to where it just feels like a lore dump. And that's always hard. Like, anytime that you're doing exposition, and of course that also is writing and directing, but the acting really has to see it through. And if you don't have somebody who can handle exposition in a way that doesn't feel like exposition, then you're sunk. And this was just a fantastic performance in general. Also, this is a role that, because it's a larger frame, dark-skinned Black woman, there are so many things that are assigned by society. So many roles that she is kind of shoved into people's minds, where she is made, like, she's assigned maternalistic qualities, and she's given responsibilities outside of herself and of her family and her interests, because that's just what there's this expectation that dark-skinned Black women are going to be the person taking care of the children and feeding everybody and comforting everybody, and there isn't this allowance for them to just exist and have their own motivations and their own reasons for being. And I think with Annie, the role that she's assigned in society, there is some of that, but there's also a lot of agency with her, because she is her own person, and she's not going to do anything that she doesn't feel like doing. As much as she loves Smoke, she's not going to show up at the juke if she doesn't want to be there. As much as she wants to be part of the community, she's not going to fry fish for everybody if she doesn't feel like that's something that will contribute. And we see that in her taking the wooden nickels. She doesn't have to accept that. And I mean, yeah, you could argue that she does, but she really doesn't. She prefers to be where she is with the people that she trusts and loves. And just it's a fantastic character and a fantastic performance. And I can't imagine the movie without the character having been written and played as she was.
And Kim?
So basically everything that Carla said. Yeah, it wasn't hard. I was like, oh, Annie, of course, is my favorite. I love her presence. Like, she's very matter of fact. She's very direct. When Smoke comes to see her, like, she knows that he's mixed up in something. She doesn't want his dirty money. She just, like, wants to protect him. But there's no point in lecturing him, because she knows who he is and she knows who she is. I love that she's, like, a known healer for her community. So much so that when everything happens in the juke joint, they just listen to her. Like, no one's like, I don't think that that's true. I don't think it's a vampire. They're just like, okay, what do we do? Like, she's such an action taker that they're just like, they fall in line. There's no need to question her, because she doesn't say things if she doesn't 100% know that it's true. I like how much she took direct action during the party when things started to go crazy. I liked how much action she took in that sex scene. Like, she initiated that sex scene, and it was just like, he just showed up. He wants to talk to you about something. You missed him, but like, she was leading the charge on that. And I feel like that's rarely seen from sex scenes in movies. Like, the woman isn't the one to initiate. And I love their whole relationship, like her whole relationship with Smoke. Like, they're together when they are, and then when they're apart, they're apart. But it feels like they're always meant to be together. And even in the afterlife, like how the ending goes, like, they're meant for each other. They have an understanding with each other. And I think it's really beautiful. I really, the whole movie is fantastic. But if you had to like pull out one part and like give me a whole backstory, I would love to see like how they met and their whole story. I just think that their two characters are fantastic. But Annie on her own, like, I would love to know more about her. I think she's definitely my favorite character.
Tiff, are you the same?
So I was going to go against the grain and say, oh yeah, you know what? Delta Slim, I was really feeling it because he kept it so grounded. He was so real. He knows he's an alcoholic. He owns it. He's like, I need my moonshine. I'm good. I need my corn liquor. But no, it's got to be Annie. I'm sorry, but it does, because I have been a big fan of Wunmi Mosaku for years and years and years. She knows what to do with the material that she's given. It doesn't even have to be like spectacular material. And this is not the case in Sinners. Sinners is absolutely fantastic and spectacular, but she knows how to wrap herself around words and just like envelop us with her presence and with her performance. Part of what and I know we'll go into it in the next topic, but part of what makes her character so amazing, and Kim, you touched on this with her being, like you said, a known healer. She does root work. She's hoodoo and not voodoo, hoodoo. So she's doing root work. She's doing conjure. She gives Smoke that protection amulet because she knows there are some forces out there that are not of this world. They are supernatural. Although there are very things that are natural that are a danger to him because he and his brother are caught up in this, they're caught up in the game. Let's just call it, let's call a spade a spade. They stole those guns from up north. They bought them down. They bought the moonshine down, and that's what we're doing. And there's some interesting backplay with that because that's how a whole situation started in Chicago between the gangsters up there because moonshine and liquor and guns went missing. So I like the way that Ryan Coogler put that in there because it's like it went missing. Where did it go? Well, hey, you know what? These two brothers just happen to have a large quantity of this to open up their juke in the Mississippi Delta. But scratch that. Moving on back on to Annie. I like the fact that they gave us a tall, statuesque, voluptuous, big boned, whatever you want to call her, thickum. She's fabulous, though. She is beautiful. She is gorgeous. And you do not see that on screen. You do not see someone having an intimate relationship with someone. And that scene is so daggone sexy. It is sexy. It's almost comforting in a certain kind of way, which is weird for me to say about a sex scene. But when I think about it, I'm like, they're not really showing anything. It's not like a whole lot of skin or anything like that. But whatever intimacy coordinator they had on site just knew what they were doing because it's extremely sensual. It just works on so many levels. She is a go-getter. She is a peacemaker when she needs to be, but she knows how to crack the whip when she needs to. Because she's like, look, y'all are going to eat this garlic. You're going to eat this garlic. And if you can't eat the garlic, then get out. then you have to go. You can't be here anymore. Just eat the garlic or go, or you're going to get staked. So I love the fact that people defer to her. Smoke deferred to her. Everybody else, Delta Slim, Sammy, everybody else in that juke were deferring to her. And there's one person who doesn't, and I know we'll talk about it later, but she has my heart on so many levels. She has my heart. If I wanted somebody to back me up and to have my back and to help me protect the community, I would look for somebody like Annie because she's the one that you would go to for that.
Yeah, I could try to be different, but I'm not going to be different. I guess I should have known this. It wouldn't be a hard question to answer. But yeah, I mean, just everything that has already been said. And what I think is so amazing in this movie, and especially that a man wrote and directed this movie, that a woman's pleasure is so important in this movie. And to see a character and to see a woman and to see an actress that, in general, you wouldn't usually have her playing a sex symbol, really. I mean, just completely just gorgeous and very comfortable in her body and everything. She would usually be like a side character or not very important. And so I love that about her. And I do, I will always appreciate in this movie that there's never that moment where it's like, are we sure these are vampires? Let's do some more tests. And just, she says it. And like everybody said, everybody believes it. And there's never, ever a moment of hesitation. And that's so rare in any horror movie. And when you're dealing with vampires, it's really rare. And so I liked that it's also a matter of that everybody respects her and admires her and looks up to her. I would say she's the most respected character in the film among the majority of the characters there. And I also love how determined she is that if she does get bit, and remember, we're spoiling everything, that she wants to die and she doesn't want to become a vampire. She doesn't want to get trapped. And it's a very heartbreaking scene when Smoke has to kill her, has to put the stake in her. And that's really sad. But I'm glad that there wasn't like this huge moment of hesitation. Then she became a vampire and then he did it, because that's usually what would happen. And I'm glad that didn't happen, because then you never once she never once loses her agency in the movie. And so that's important as well. And I love that she is reunited with her child that passed away, because she's also dealing with the loss of a child. And that's why it would be interesting. I mean, I frankly don't want a sequel or anything to this movie. I know there's been talk about that, but I do think if they were to do it, it would be an interesting concept to see Annie's backstory and to see, their relationship, her relationship with Smoke and her relationship with the town. And I mean, it'd be hard to watch a child die, but, just kind of a backstory on that would be interesting too. But yeah, I should have known we'd all choose the same person, but so it's easier this time than it is with most things. So, okay, well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about why the time period, location, and the representation in this film is so important. So we'll be right back.
When did making plans get this complicated? It's time to streamline with WhatsApp, the secure messaging app that brings the whole group together. Use polls to settle dinner plans. Send event invites and pin messages so no one forgets Mom's 60th. And never miss a meme or milestone. All protected with end-to-end encryption. It's time for WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone. Learn more at whatsapp.com.
Okay, so if you don't know, this film takes place in the Mississippi Delta, specifically the town of Clarksdale, Mississippi. They did have a special screening of the movie there because they did not have a movie theater. And so Ryan Coogler set up a special screening of the movie there as well, just to let everybody know. I just think that's a really awesome little fact there. And it takes place in 1932 during the Jim Crow era. So Carla, why do you think it's important that it's set where it is set, during the time period it's set, and then, of course, the representation as well?
There is so much history. And here's the thing. The time in which Sinners is set it's a brilliant choice because it's a handoff between slavery and sharecropping and Jim Crow. And everything in this movie is about crossroads and intersections. So having that specific period of time when the wounds of slavery are so fresh, and it's not like emancipation means freedom. It means a different kind of slavery, and it means a different kind of beholdenness to somebody who is not seeing your worth as a human. And we see that from the very beginning in the movie when the twins show up to buy this old mill, and they're dealing with the Klansmen, and they know that they go into this with eyes wide open. And like they say towards the beginning, going up north is not freedom. You're not finding freedom. You're not finding the liberation that you thought that you would going away from the South. It's just a different kind of racism, and it's a different kind of shackle, so to speak. So this is, again, it's an interesting time to set it. Also, the place, the setting itself is important because you're talking about Mississippi. And when you talk about just Deep South and all of the atrocities that you can imagine that are visited upon Black people in the Deep South, there's so much of it concentrated in Mississippi, lynchings then and now, because that's not history that is still going on. And just, I think there are so many movies that deal with racism that are set in Mississippi for a reason. You look, and this is not to say that it doesn't happen in every state. It's just to say that there's something about that middle of the country that just seems to kind of draw the eye. The setting is a brilliant decision also because of the diasporic range of people represented in 1930s Mississippi. So you have Native people, you have the Irish people, you have Black people, you have Chinese people, all of them in very close proximity to each other. And there's still so much segregation. It's not a densely populated place. It's not Chicago. It's not New York. It's a lot more spread out. And yet everybody who isn't white is expected to behave in a specific kind of way that caters to what the white people of the area want. So I think it informs a lot of the action that can happen, a lot of the reason why it's so interesting that it's a vampire movie, why it's so interesting that it's these particular groups of people that are chosen to be represented in the film. And I think just Ryan Coogler being the incredibly thoughtful and just brilliant writer that he is, he does everything for a reason. And I think that it's something that it gives us a glimpse into a history that already has a lot of horror in and of itself. And then it's heightened and given a different platform to exist through this story.
And Kim?
I think that setting it in a Jim Crow era South was absolutely perfect. Like, it's already just a little bit spooky, because I feel like for a Black person, you could easily see why things would be so scary. Like, things were starting to get better. Like, you could rise above, you could own your own things, you could start a family, start a business without like asking for like complete permission. There was so much opportunity to be had. But if you looked at someone the wrong way, it could be taken away. If someone didn't like that they were walking on the white only platform, if someone didn't like the way that if they overheard the way they were speaking to Mary, like, it could all be taken away. And like, not just, oh, we're locking you up, like we're lynching you, and then it's just done. You know, if you call the cops because somebody wronged you, the cops were probably Klan members back then. So I think that this time is so perfectly set up, because there's always that expectation of fear as a Black person. I mean, probably even as a Chinese person or Asian person then, like, they were a little bit more, welcomed by the community. That couple had 2 stores. But if someone didn't like the way they spoke to them, things could go the wrong way for them. And I think it's the perfect setting for a horror movie, because you don't know who to trust in a horror movie. You don't know what's coming. And a Black person at that time had no clue who they could trust. Mary was great, but if her husband would have shown up and didn't like what was going on, dead. I just think that it was the perfect place to set it. Just, there was always that assumption of fear, that assumption of the other shoe's going to drop. Like, something bad is just around the corner. And that's what you get in a perfect horror film.
Yes. And Tiff?
So thank you, Carla, for mentioning how the crossroads play such a large part in this coming out of enslavement into the hopes of Reconstruction for a brief shining, 2-3 years. You have voting rights, at least for Black men. You have Black men in congressional seats. You have Black people having a semblance of some agency. And then guess what? The federal government pulls out of the South. They turn everything back over to people that committed treason, and they give them back everything. And nobody is punished. And when that happens, you roll right into Night Riders, which are the precursor to the Ku Klux Klan. You roll into the harshness of Jim Crow. You roll into segregation now, segregation forever. That was what George Wallace said. And that was, the neighboring state of Alabama. There's a reason why Nina Simone wrote a song called Mississippi Goddamn, because goddamn Mississippi. Like, it has one of the highest concentrations even today of Black people with the highest amount of poverty in that community. So this is not something, this is continual, trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning for what I'm about to say. There was a Black student that was just found hanged on the campus of Delta State, a young man named Trey Reed from Grenada, which is in the Caribbean. And they're ruling his death as him unaliving himself. Well, that just doesn't jibe right with a lot of people, because what 21-year-old do you know, even in the, the fits of depression or whatever, is going to do that on their college campus? But I digress. We're talking about how Ryan Coogler thought to make this the impetus of the movie, because I think that Mississippi itself, and the Delta in particular, is the jump off point for this film. He said, I'm going to take this time frame, 1930s, I'm going to take this place, Mississippi Delta, and I'm going to bring in all of these different elements, supernatural and natural, to provide you with some of the scariest things that we could ever feel, both supernatural and natural. Because I can guarantee you, Black people at that time were going to be, if they saw a group of white folks, if they saw one white person coming their way, they're going to cross toward the other side. They're going to cross to the other side. And it's not necessarily because you're scared for yourself. You might be scared for your family. You're scared for your children. You're scared for your spouse, that sort of thing. So this is a brilliant, brilliant choice for him to make, bringing in Native representation, because the Choctaw, a lot of them, there was a treaty, I looked it up. There was in 1830, it was called the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek, that treaty, air quotes, where the federal government sought to move the Choctaw out of Mississippi completely. And the majority of them said, no, we're not leaving. So they did remain in the Mississippi Delta. So them riding up to that clan house, that clansman's house, that's not out of the realm of possibility, because there were still a lot of Choctaw that were there for, hundreds and hundreds of years. The fact that he brought in Grace and Bo as these Chinese, and they're not immigrants. Their parents were the immigrants, because if you notice, Bo and Grace have that they have a Mississippi accent. They don't have accents like they spoke Mandarin, like they were born somewhere in mainland China or overseas. They were born in Mississippi. Both of them were. And that is the reality. Ryan Coogler studied this. There were Asian people, particularly Chinese people, who owned on both sides of the line, because there is a line to delineate where the white folk go, where the Black folk go. And they would have 2 stores on each side, because Chinese Americans operated in a very, very, very tight rope of culture, because they weren't white, they weren't Black. They operated somewhere in the middle. And they liked that midline. They found each other, they married each other, and they continued kind of sort of an insular community. It's incredible what Ryan did. I could go on and on and on. Like Carla said, I mean, there's so much about this. There's just so much. There's just so much. Having the blues be part and parcel of who Sammy is, the slide guitar, the Delta Slim's harmonica, the blues are it's not just representative of like depression. The blues are about raw emotion expression that's tailor-made to the Black experience, particularly the Black experience coming out of enslavement, rolling right into Jim Crow. So he did an amazing, amazing job. Amazing. So I can't, if I can keep going, but I'm going to stop.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, all 3 of you. Yeah, I think, just ditto what has been said. And I think it's also, maybe it will encourage people. We are not taught our actual history in this country. So maybe it will also encourage people to actually learn actual history, because like has been said, it's not like this is all over and racism is just done and gone. And it clearly, very clearly and obviously isn't. And so that's another thing, is that I think, we like to pretend, especially white people, we like to pretend that this is all said and done and this is over and everything is great and wonderful. And this was the past, but it very much is the present day still. So a lot of the themes in here and a lot of what they're talking about. And then also I think, another thing is this very clearly shows how white people, we just like to take and steal everything. So much cultural appropriation and so much like the music, especially, which we're going to get to next, but so much of that going on. And then also that we don't listen, because when those Klan members are warned that, we are going to come in, by the Choctaw, that we are coming in here, we're going to save you. Well, they didn't say that, but they're like, you're in danger. And they're just like, no, we're not going to listen to you because you're not white. And then, of course, they get turned into vampires. So it's like that whole thing of white people thinking that they are the only ones that matter or the only ones that are important. And that was another, I think, interesting part of that. And like like you said, Kim, it automatically makes it even scarier than it would have been anyway. So that is another reason it's important. And then, like we always say, representation is important no matter what. It's always important, and we need more of it. And also accurate representation, which I think is also good, because I can't think of any other movie, and please jump in if there's something that I'm forgetting, that's set in this time period and this place where you have any Chinese people or any Asian people, period. I can't think of a single film, and I could be totally wrong, but I just can't think of one off the top of my head for this time period. So to even go even further and have characters that you would normally not see in this time period or this setting, location is what I mean. It's essential, and it adds, and I can't imagine this movie being set in a different time period or a different location. And it also speaks to, where we are in the fact that, and how, things have changed, but they haven't changed. And the fact that where this is set, they don't even have a movie theater in that town because they don't have enough money and enough resources. So even the town that this is set in today could not watch this movie until it was brought special to them by Ryan Coogler and the studio and everything. So that's another thing that you can see, that maybe we've come a little bit far, but we haven't, So yeah. So I think music is basically another character in this movie. So I wanted to definitely talk about the music in the film. So Carla, what are your thoughts on the importance of the music and the way it's used in the movie?
The movie's absolutely essential in this movie. Yes, the movie is essential for the movie to happen. I don't know if you knew that, but in order for movies to happen, there has to be a movie happening. Aside from that, sometimes there's also music. And in this movie, music is essential to the movie. It's the through line that permeates through everything in this movie. It suffuses every aspect of this movie. And one thing that bothers me sometimes with movies is where the music takes the place of evocation of emotion, where instead of it being artful writing and good acting, it's the music that's dictating how you feel. And with this particular movie and the music in it, it's its own thing, and it's a big part of the story, yes, and it helps you understand some of the emotion in it, yes, but it's in a more natural way. It's in a more organic way. One thing that I thought was very interesting with the scene where Delta Slim is talking about, he's recounting for Sammy how he came to be where he is now, where he is an alcoholic and he is an excellent musician, but he has all of these demons. And he's talking about how he and a friend of his had done everything right, quote unquote, because that's one thing that, through to 2025, there are, if you're talking about Black people being stopped by police and being abused in the process, if you're talking about migrants or just anybody who is stopped by ICE, and they talk about they did all the right things. They cooperated, they gave their papers, they were polite, they were kind, and none of that mattered because in the end, his friend was still lynched. He didn't do anything wrong. He earned the money that he had in his pocket. But because these white people saw him as an inferior thing, they dehumanized him. They made up a story about him. And frankly, the story didn't matter. All that mattered was that they didn't believe he deserved to live. And that was that. And in that moment, in his pain, he he lets out a moan, and the moan becomes a bit of music. And then Sammy starts with the guitar and accompanies him. So that's one thing with, like Tiff was saying, it's not, the blues is not just oppression. It's not just And it is that. It is suffering, but it's also an expression of deep feeling. And in that moment, Slim was feeling something deeply. And to help get through it, he turned to something that he knew best, and that's music. And that's just one out of so many examples in this movie of how the music becomes part of the scene in a way that doesn't, it's like a good acting partner where you're giving and taking. And that's what it is with the music in this movie. Notably, it is, of course, very US Black music. And if you're talking about enslaved people and people who throughout the Americas, up and down, all the way to the, very bottomest part of South America, all the way up to the northernest part of North America, there are so many styles of music that have come about through music that people brought in from Africa. You have, yes, the blues, but you have salsa, you have cumbia, you have just a huge amount of music. And it can be very regionally specific. And in this particular case, you're talking about the South in the US and the blues. And it's a moment in time. It's a time capsule that this movie is giving us in the soundtrack. Because, I think, of course, music evolves. There's still all kinds of blues now, but the blues that is specific to what was depicted in the movie, it's a very visceral style because it's not encumbered by the refinements that we have now. Now we have auto-tune and we have these expectations of what a song should have. It has to have a bridge. It has to be this long. It has to have, a collaboration with a rapper. It has to have the specific aesthetic. It has to have this and that. But when a genre is being born, it is at its purest form. And that's another reason why the time in which the movie is set is so important to it. And of course, the scene that I think anybody who has watched this movie comes out talking about, the scene with the music calling the ancestors. And it's calling everybody's ancestors. It's not just calling the ancestors of the Black people gathered. It's also calling the Chinese ancestors. It's calling the Irish ancestors. It's everybody who is there. It is calling your past, because everything about music it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It comes from something. It is based on something. And it's like just a tower that is continually being built upon. It's music is one of the most indestructible things in this world. It's not a metal. It's not concrete. It is something that is in the soul. It is born of the soul, and it is brought to us by those who came before us. There's the book Caramelo by Sandra Cisneros has a scene similar to this. And when I watched the movie, I was like, this is part of why I connected to it so much. There's a scene towards the end of the book where the protagonist of the book is at a party, and the party they're playing music, and she starts kind of envisioning her ancestors and, everybody who came before her. So this is a theme that I think is very universal. And I think it's a theme that is especially strong for people who are displaced, because you especially want to connect with your ancestors. I think a lot of people take their ancestors for granted. They take their family's history for granted if they are the majority in a particular place. It's kind of like a thing where you're expected to honor them, but you kind of also want to get away from them. But it's those of us who are from somewhere else and whose families are from somewhere else, especially if we can't connect to our roots in a simple way. I can't find my ancestry, and I certainly don't want to give my DNA to anybody. So there goes that avenue. So, in my Mexican ancestry, we have no idea, because colonialism and assimilation and all of that stuff. My dad's side of the family, the Haitian ancestry, we kind of know, but we don't know. So the idea that there's this force that's bigger than us, connecting us to our roots, is very powerful in a way that I think, especially white people in the US, don't really get, in part because they can look at a family tree and say, oh, I know where I'm from.
And Kim?
I really love how music works in this film. And the scene with the roof on fire is amazing. I could talk about that all day, but we don't have enough time. So I picked my favorite scene where music is showcased, and it's got to be when Perline is performing. And it's kind of like the start of everything. Like Mary's just like asked to come back in to the party. And it's like, oh, something's wrong there. And Perline is like, she's stomping to the beat of the song. And then everyone else starts to stomp as well. And it kind of feels like a heartbeat, like starting to race, because there's two different scenes. Mary's with Stack, and like they're starting to hook up, and like there might be something wrong with her. We don't know. She was just outside with people who we know are vampires. So what's happening there? And then there's a fight that's just broken out in the other room, and that guy has like his face slashed. And it's just like the stomping is happening, and it's like pacing. And then just like everything explodes. And that's like when the movie really starts to like take off. And it felt like the music became like another character warning us, like, hey, pay attention. Things are about to happen here. That is my favorite scene for music, but it's throughout the whole thing. It's just so beautiful. Like Ryan does such a good job of like sourcing the music and setting things up perfectly. But I do like the way that one just kind of like forecast that like something is going to happen. It's just been a cool party so far, but now the horror movie is starting. Like your pulse is racing. The song is pacing. Like we're getting it started.
Yeah. And Tiff?
So that, like, ditto to everything that Carla and Kim have mentioned. And I really like how you just showed about Perline, because I was looking at that, Kim, with her stomping, because it started off kind of mellow and then it just bam, bam, and the floor is jumping. You could see the floor bouncing and everybody else bouncing with her. And what that showed me was like it was a hearken to call and response, which is a very, very deeply in tune part of the Black USian experience, especially in the church, is call and response. The preacher calls out, you respond back. It's integral to who we are and who our people are for those who have been raised in a Black church, especially. So if you were Baptist, or if you were AME, which is African Methodist Episcopal, or if you were Kojic, Church of God in Christ. So that really showed me like, okay, Ryan, I think you grew up in a Black church, because I see you, Ryan, with the call and response. One thing that really stood out to me was when it's connected to music, but there's no music, is when Sammy's father, who is of course the professor, is telling him, put the guitar down. When the guitar is broken, Sammy's bloody. He's just come out of an absolutely hellish evening that started well, and it did not end well. And he's saying, Sammy, come home, just put the guitar down. And he can't put it down. He can't put it down. And that, to me, right there was just showing just how wound up Sammy was with the music. Sammy is the music in this movie. Sammy is the catalyst. And that's why Remick wanted him so much, is because he was it. He was the catalyst. He was the lightning, essentially. Somebody else possibly could have played that guitar and possibly could have played it well, but it was something about Sammy at that point in time with that guitar at that specific moment that was able to bring forth all of that energy. And that's what that music was. It was all of the energy focused on that juke. And it was it called to them. And it's interesting to me that Remick's little river dance, that was cute. I like that. I felt like Ryan was doing like kind of a wink, wink, nod, nudge, nudge to, like, I guess, Irish culture and history. I felt like he could have done a little bit more with it. Like Remick, I felt like you could have, like, kicked your heels up a little bit more, but that was okay. But I really, man, music is it's so entwined with this movie. It really is. And when you hear how much that Miles Canton, who of course plays Sammy, how he had to really study to get that, because that's him playing the guitar. And the slide guitar is hard. That is not easy. Like it's not an acoustic guitar, it's not an electric guitar. A slide is like you were literally sliding that hand back and forth trying to get those, that particular twang out of that instrument. So just kudos to him for doing that. And the fact that scene, both of those scenes exist in this movie. I think it was really special that he shot it that way and that we got to feel it as well. And I know a lot of times they do, like when they film movies or TV, they don't have the music playing while they're shooting the scene. I really hope for their sake that they did in this. I hope like if we get some behind the scenes stuff that we could see maybe they were playing it outside and they could hear it, they could feel it. Because I think that would have been, the energy would have just been kicked sky high if they got that, if they had that, being able to hear that. But just an amazing two scenes. Just awesome.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Yeah, completely ditto to everything that was said. And the juke joint music sequence is like one of those things that, like, if you're able to, if you didn't get to see this movie on the big screen and it is re-released, I encourage you to go see it on the big screen, because that scene especially, and the aspect ratio changes throughout this movie anyway, but you really see the aspect ratio change during that scene, and that's really important. And that is one of those scenes, like, I've never seen anything like that on film before. It was very powerful, very, very incredible. And it shows again, music is so powerful, and it is another character in here. But going back to a little bit of what Carla had said, it doesn't take over the film. It's not like overpowering. It's not like controlling how you're supposed to feel. It's just heightening what you're already feeling. It's also heightening what the characters are feeling. It's also a piece of the characters in the songs and in the music and in the words and the lyrics and everything. So it's like you're basically getting like another layer to the characters, and that's why it's also important. But yeah, so it's like essential to this movie, and it adds so much. Like, I cannot imagine this movie without it. And because it is true that sometimes in some movies, the score and the music can become a little bit of a nuisance, and it definitely doesn't in this. And it's the right amount, and everybody is so talented as well, and it just really enhances the entire viewing experience. It's hands down like the best soundtrack of the year too. So yeah. Okay, well, we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the ending of the film.
Abercrombie Kids knows how to make outfitting easy. Mix and match sets are their ultimate outfit hack for fall. Their sweatshirts and sweatpants are super cozy, and they always have the cutest colors and patterns. Shop fall's easiest outfit at Abercrombie Kids in the app, online, and in stores.
The new Popeyes and Hot Ones menu is fire flavor. Trust me, because I'm about to eat it. Woo! That hits right away. Attempt the Popeyes Hot Ones menu in stores. Love that chicken from Popeyes. Limited time in participating U.S. restaurants.
Okay, so there are, of course, 2 post-credit scenes in this movie, in Sinners. The first one is you get to see that Sammy became Buddy Guy. Well, I know that's not really true, but I just like to say that. But you see Buddy Guy, which was just such a nice surprise. And you see that Sammy, because you're not sure what Sammy is going to choose at the end of the movie, but you see Sammy continues, playing music and singing and everything. So Sammy continues down that path. And I also love that he's playing in a place called Pralines, which is a nice little touch too. So, and then you learn that Stack did not die, and neither did Mary, and that Smoke made a deal with him that he would leave Sammy alone and he would let him go and live. And so you learn that as well. And then there is a post-credits scene where it is Sammy in the church singing This Little Light of Mine. So, Carla, what are your thoughts on the ending of Sinners?
It's such an interesting ending. And with this whole like post-Marvel world that we're living in, where you kind of have to sit at the end of every single movie now, just in case. Although I think there's a website where you can specifically find if you have to sit through the movie, there's like more, which, God bless the people who do that kind of stuff, because I definitely need it. So yes, I'm very glad that I sat there. And I've been trying to sit, okay, side note, I've been trying to sit through credits anyway, because people work really hard in these movies and they deserve to be recognized. And it's not going to kill me to sit my butt down for another 5-10 minutes. It's going to be okay. My butt will live. Anyway, so I'm glad that I sat through the ending of this movie because it had the double post-Marvel world endings, but they were so, I think, interesting and important. One, I loved the slightly ambiguous way that the first ending happened, because I love a nice ambiguous ending when it's done right. And I just enjoy it, but whatever. Like the other two endings had more stuff, so I'll get to those instead. Those had more meat on them. Okay, so yeah, I like the quiet meditative ending that we had there. It's beautiful. If you walked out at that point in the movie, honestly, it's still a complete movie. It's still a complete story. It's still beautiful. The first bonus ending, where you have what you were describing with Stack and Mary walking in. And there's Sammy, and they're talking to him, and you're fearing for Sammy's life, because this is is it a Grim Reaper moment? Like, what's going to happen here? And I'll tell you something. I hate it when people let the monster go. People are like, I'll spare you if you do this one thing for me. Just kill the monster. Like, just end it. Please, just end it. I'm begging you. It's always bothered me. Anyway, I'm going to breathe through it. Let it go. It's okay. We got a beautiful scene out of it. But the reason that it ends, you have like this beautiful moment of closure with Sammy, where it's kind of validating for him the fact that in a way he's always kind of looked over his shoulder, because all of this stuff happened, and it's like you're assuming that Stack has been killed. You don't know what happened with Mary, but who cares? He's been allowed to live a long life. No, like the only reason that I'm saying like who cares? Yeah, it's just because I think that the concern would have been more Stack than Mary, but it's like it's okay. But in that moment, he's looking at his supposedly dead cousin and like, oh, okay, so I've had a reason to like be up half my nights my entire life. And so when Mary and Stack are talking, and the thing is like, okay, with vampires, it's still not the person. They may have like the memories of the person, but the person is gone. The moment that that their body was taken over and they died to become a vampire, that person is gone. So when Vamp Stack is talking about the memories of his brother, I think it's more kind of like indulging Sammy, to be honest. I think it's like, because Sammy asks him, he says that he had, up until the moment when the sun went down, it was the best day of his life. And he asks this version of Stack whether he felt the same. And Stack is thinking through his bank of memories. It's the last day that he saw his brother alive. It's the last day that he got to see the sun. And even though it's the monster that took over Stack's body saying this, I think it's important that Sammy hears this, because it's giving him closure about his family. This is still, a representation of the family that he lost that day. And it's also like, okay, cool. So you've been deprived of stuff too. Like, I've been deprived of sleep. I've been deprived of having a complete family, of like, peace of mind and all of this. But you've been deprived too. So, all right, nice. The whole thing of like, oh, I like to live because I made this. I hate that. To stop it. Okay, no. I'm going to be cool about it. We're going to be cool about it. It's fine. Making peace with it. Anyway, the second ending, I really especially loved, because it feels like Sammy's bridging that gap between his music and the life that his father wanted. It's also him having a measure of acceptance and forgiveness of himself, because he had like a feeling of guilt because it's his plane that brought these creatures to the juke, but it's not. It's if it hadn't been him playing music that purely, it might have been somebody else. These people were going to they're murderers, they're vampires. Like that's they want to kill. So it was going to happen whether he was there or not. So, letting himself fall into the music again is a bit of closure that young version of himself needed. And I think it's also a beautiful send off to the audience. It's a moment where you have it's a beautiful song. This Little Light of Mine it's a beautiful, reassuring, comforting, upbeat piece of music that is used to great effect in religion because it is so joyous. And it's talking about how something within you is bringing something wonderful to the world. So, yeah, that's why I liked all 13 endings of Sinners.
13 endings. Kim.
Well, I like all 13 endings too, but I do want to talk about the very first one with Smoke shooting out the clan, because every movie where the clan is mentioned, that's how they should all end. Just being shot, the grenade being thrown into the car as it's like driving away. Like it was very perfect. It was very perfect. But for the first post-credit scene with like 90s Marion Stack, did so much. I love the costume design. It was Ruth Carter who worked with him on Black Panther. She won an Oscar for it. She's fantastic. I loved everything about that scene, from like Haley's hair being like pulled up in a little cute updo and like the lollipop. I loved all of it. For me, it kind of feels like, I know that vampires like don't retain their memory depending on like who's doing the film, right? But I kind of feel like these did. Like, I kind of feel like these were kind of the person. And that scene for me is filled with like so much love. Like, they're an interracial couple. My husband's white. So like, I kind of felt like it's hard. Like, we live in New York City. It's now times. We still get looks. We still get comments. So like, it never goes away. But the time where they were in love was so dangerous for them that like Stack is nasty to her because he's like, it's too dangerous for you to be around me. Like, by becoming vampires, they were able to kind of let the world change around them to welcome their love, or at least be accepting of it. So like they finally made it to a place where they're safe enough to walk the streets together, to be with each other, to experience that love. And I don't know, I just thought that it was very magical for me in that moment. Like, I know it was supposed to be mostly about like Sammy, but just seeing that they were still together after like all those years was very heartwarming for me to see that their love managed to make it to where a time got better. Like, they're still vampires, but at least they're together and they're in love in a better time where no one's going to lynch them for it, possibly. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but like it's less likely in the time that they're in now.
Yeah. And Tiff.
So the first ending, part B. So after Smoke had like smoked, but I'll be here all week. The clan.
That's great.
After he, decimated the clan, which, yes, please give me more. Feed me Seymour. I love it. Anytime, like Kim said, anytime the only good clan is a dead clan. KLAN Scottish folks. I don't mean y'all. So KLAN. So the second half of that scene, though, because initially of course my eyes are glued to the screen when this happened. Initially, I thought that he survived, that Smoke had survived. I mean, I know he got shot, but I was thinking, okay, he's actually okay. He's coming through this. But then when he sees Annie and she's holding their baby, and I thought that's such a tender moment because she's got the baby at her breast and she is dressed in white and the baby is wrapped in white. And it's just, obviously white is a sign of purity, of cleanliness, I think of almost like just rebirth of sorts. And that's how it felt like she had crossed over and she's like, come on home. come on to us. And I really, really love that part. That made me actually really emotional when I saw it. I'm a thug. I can't be crying in the club. But I was a bit emotional when that happened. But yeah, and then the two post credits scenes that we got. Yes, thank you for mentioning the fashion. Thank you for mentioning the costume design, Kim, because Stack wearing the Coochie sweater. Love that. Very, very early 90s, very appropriate. Mary with I think she had the starter jacket and it was kind of hanging off of her shoulders. Very early 90s, because I can remember my cousins wearing that. And so just really the way that wrapped up. And I don't know, sometimes I think in the lore with vampires, we know that they retain the memories of the person whose body that they are inhabiting, because vampires are demons. That person is gone, but we know that they do retain their memories. Do they feel a connection to it is the question. And as a demon, them being demons, I would say probably not. But I do think that the Stack saw that how that was important to Sammy, as Carla said, that it was important to him to realize that that was his best day. That was the best day he had ever had. It was so much fun. He was having a grand old time until the nighttime happened, but he needed that validation. I think that's what that was. It was validation. It was him putting a stamp on it to say, hey, did you have a good time too? Even if he can't feel it anymore, even if it doesn't doesn't make him swell up with pride over how well Sammy played in the juke that night, it still was that validation point to say, yeah, you know what? I did have a good time with you too, cuz. So those two scenes, and yes, and I love the quietness of that last scene too, with him just playing nice and, just nice and quietly. I thought that was a really interesting way to end a very loud movie. And I don't mean loud in a bad way. I just mean a lot of energy to this film, and it being this, bringing it all the way down to this very, very quiet moment. I really like that. Everything Ryan Coogler does is intentional, and I believe that was an intentional stopping point. Okay, it's time for y'all to get off this train. It's been a great ride, but now you need to take a breath and you need to take it all in. And we can't do that with any more noise. We have to do that with a little bit of silence, a little bit of softness. So I love it. We're living in that post-Marvel world. Yes. Sit through the endings, people. Sit through the credits. Like Carla said, your butt will be fine. Take a pillow. Like a little donut for your butt.
Yeah, and then you can really realize how many people really work on movies. It's amazing how many people it takes to make a movie. And that's why it's incredible that they ever get made, honestly. It's a miracle. Every single movie is a miracle. Yeah, not much I will add, but I did love both of them. I loved seeing Buddy Guy. And if you're going to sit through the credits, you're going to be listening to beautiful music in this anyway. So it's not like you're going to be suffering for this one. I do understand if there's no post credits and you have to pee really badly. I understand you'll have to jump up and get out. But there is some respect to sitting there and viewing all the names involved in a movie. But yes, I agree. I like to believe that Stack does remember. That's just my personal, I want to believe that he does remember. For people that watch Interview with the Vampire, the TV series, there are some amazing, fantastic, I'll have to find some and send them to you, Tiff, because I know you just started watching it. There are some fantastic edits made with sinners and two characters in Interview with the Vampire, which if you've seen it, you should know from season 1 how it correlates to Smoke and Stack, and then these two other characters in Interview with the Vampire. And they're just really incredible edits. I'll have to find some and send them to you. But yeah, I encourage seeking those out because it's like the perfect compilation. And then people are like, man, maybe these people are all kind of connected together in a way. And it's really, really, really well done. But yeah, I agree. And I agree ending it in a quiet place with this little light of mine. It's also a moment for not only for the audience to breathe, but for Sammy to breathe. And Sammy's been through a lot. Sammy fell, in love in a way too. He had a first, kind of what we can gather, his first sexual experience. And then he got to really, really, really play music, and he got to have fun. And then all of that got taken away, and he lost so many people. And so it was nice for him to be able to have that quiet little moment of peace as well at the very, very end. Yeah. And I just really love that the club that he's playing in is called Pralines, because it's just a nice little tiny little nod there that I really appreciated that. And yeah, the costuming in this movie overall is incredible. Absolutely amazing. Hands down. Okay, well, thank you, Carla, Kim, and Tiff. It is time to play 6 Degrees of Finn Wittrock. Who played? If who played. You know what I'm saying.
If played who?
I too played If Who Now.
Kim, did you If Who play?
I got too intimidated and I didn't.
You got too intimidated. Okay. So who If did you connect to Finn with If Centers? What the hell was that?
I If Who connected Delroy Lindo simply because he's like in so many movies that I love. And, prolific actor, he had to come up at some point, right? Like, there has to be a connection somewhere. And there is. He was in the Cider House Rules with Paul Rudd, who was in my heart, and also in A Futile and Stupid Gesture with Finn Wittrock. That's where he always is, though. So, can't really connect him to Finn Wittrock from there. However, just wanted to mention that.
Well, thank you. That was great in my heart. So, Tiff.
Well, who knows? You did talk about through lines, Carla. So it could be a through line from the heart. So you never know.
My God, yes. You're so right. That has to be, yeah.
So I took our girl Annie, played by the fantastic Wunmi Mosaku, who was in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice with Milica Jovovich, who was in La La Land with Finn Wittrock.
Awesome. Thank you. And I used Michael B. Jordan, who was in Parenthood, the show Parenthood, with Peter Krauser, who was in, which you could just immediately go to 911 and then like Ryan Murphy, but I wanted to leave Ryan Murphy out of this. But Peter was in 6 Feet Under with Michael C. Hall, who of course played Dexter in Dexter, and also in Dexter was Jennifer Carpenter, who was in A Mouthful of Air with Finn. So thank you all. And I just want to briefly say, this is our 600th episode. Thank you. That was like a combination of woos and the meows. So I'm not going to go in a huge long thing. I'm planning on doing something because it's also our 6-year anniversary in December. So I'm planning end of the year, we might do a live stream celebrating just 6 years. And so we'll do more celebration then. But I just want to briefly just say thank you to anyone who's ever listened to an episode, who continues to listen to episodes, even our Christmas cult out there, Christmas music cult. I appreciate you too.
Where are they?
I don't know. I can't figure it out.
I want to know where they are. I want Christmas people.
Show yourselves.
Show yourself.
Yeah. I just want to know where it originated from. That's what I really want to know, but I don't know. But seriously, though, to anyone who has listened to an episode or shared an episode or become a Patreon supporter or left a comment or sent me an email, I've gotten emails before from people and people who've joined our Discord server. And, it's hard work running a podcast. It's really a lot of work, and I couldn't do it without people listening, of course, but also without the support, and also without my amazing cast of panelists. Yes, I'm calling you my cast of panelists with all my roster of panelists. So thank you to all of you. I'm not going to go through all of you, but that sounded really bad.
Whoa, Erin.
That's how we're going to celebrate.
Hey now.
It's orgy time.
I knew at some point it had to happen. I was not expecting it this year, but
I mean, were you prepping for next year, Carla?
I honestly, I thought it would be an even year, not an odd year, but what do I know, I guess.
You thought that might be the 10-year anniversary, is the orgy year?
You know, that's what I thought, round it out. I didn't expect 6, but, keep us in our toes, I guess.
But really, thank you to everyone. I still can't believe it's been that long and that's been that many episodes. It's just mind-boggling to me. So before I cry, thank you, everyone. So we're going to go ahead and close out. And Carla, tell everybody where they can find your podcast. Okay, real quick.
I am happy to do so, Erin. You can find Okay Real Quick wherever you found this podcast. You can also find our social media presence wherever you social your media. Look for @Okay Real Quick Pod, and you will find so many cool things, like all of the cool things and other cool things plus cool things galore. You can find me, my art, and my musings on TikTok and Instagram. There's still just the one TikTok, but it is such high quality. You'll be like, wow, I can't believe I didn't follow this account sooner. And that's at Carla Temis. Or you can find my website, carlatemis.com. That's CarlaTemis.com.
Awesome. Thank you. And Kim, co-host of Big Reputations Pod, where can that be found?
So you can find Big Reputations everywhere. You can find us on Instagram at Big Reputations Pod. You can find me at Instagram at KimPlaints_NYC. Big Reputations only has 75 episodes, but I mean, we'll get there. We'll get to your level at some point.
You can do it. I have faith. Oh, that reminds me. Oh my gosh. Because I've mentioned Ryan Murphy. Kim, I should have taken a note. So I was listening to your latest episode and you were talking about Nip Tuck. And I just wanted to share with you the pain, because we covered Nip Tuck a few years ago and I watched it when it was first on and I loved it when it was first on. And then rewatching that was the most painful experience of my life. So I just wanted to say, I feel you, and it shows that Ryan Murphy has so much internalized homophobia and there's so much transphobia that he tried to make up for with Pose. And so I just wanted to say, I know exactly what you're going through.
I don't know if I want to finish. I was going to talk about it in the pop culture segment, but I was like, listen, I've been talking about this show all over. I need to put it on pause. I'm having such a hard time with it. It started out so good. And then it giveth, it taketh away. There was just a scene, I got to the Christian has breast cancer. And they show them both getting a man and a woman getting a mammogram. I've never seen that on TV. That's amazing. And then there's characters on meth. So it's there's good, there's bad. I don't understand it. I've got a season and a half left and I just don't know if I can finish it. I'm not a quitter, but I just don't know how much I can take.
No, I understand. It was the most depressing. It's to this day the hardest podcast prep I've ever done. That includes prepping for some really awful topics. It was hands down. So when you were talking about it on the episode, I'm I've got to remember to tell Kim, because it was late at night. I'm I'm not going to message her now. Okay.
You could have, I would have gratefully talked to, I need someone else to agree with me that this show is not good.
Yeah, you should listen to our episode because we talk about how painful it was for all of us that used to be fans to watch it. But I will say and I'll say this actually when I wrap up, but so Tiff, where can everybody find you?
So you can find me on the interwebs at Who Is Tiff Is Me. I'm mainly on Discord, chatting it up with the other It's a Fandom Thing pod crew. And there's all sorts of goodies on that. Theater, music, books, TV, film, pets, distractions, all sorts of good stuff. Come along and say hey.
Yes, please do. It's a lot of fun. It's an open environment. I mean, I will kick you out if you're not a good person, but yes, please join us there. And what I'm going to add with the Nip Tuck is there was one being that enjoyed that rewatch, and that was Fergie. Fergie loved watching Nip Tuck. It was so weird to me. Every time they did any of the plastic surgery scenes, she was glued to the screen.
Oh, because blood. That makes sense.
Yes.
Fergie loves the blood.
It was disturbing. So Fergie the dog loves this time of year. She was very grateful to watch this movie with me the other day. And so you can follow her on TikTok at Schroeder and Fergs. That's SCHROEDERANDFERGS. It's long, but it's worth it. To find all our past episodes, to find links to that Discord server and our other social media, head on over to our website. It's fandomthingpod.com. And while you're there, consider becoming a Patreon supporter today. For as little as $3 a month, you get bonus content, you get ad-free episodes, you get episodes a day early, and you occasionally win prizes like you can for our horror trivia event that is kicking off, if you're listening to this Friday, tomorrow at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on our YouTube channel. We're kicking it off with queer horror, and our contestants for that night are going to be Ashley Stiles from Wizard Radio, Eric from Great Pop Culture Debate, and also Matt from Gate Leapers Podcast. So both Matt and Eric were part of our event last year, and if you may recall, Eric broke a record and scored 400 points, and at that time, that was like the biggest we'd ever had anyone score points. So if you wanted to get all those points yourself and potentially win some prizes, go become a Patreon supporter. There'll be more information on that site. There'll be more information on our website and everything like that. So, yeah. And next week, we are continuing our celebration of horror with a look at a movie that is turning 40 years old. And that is the original Fright Night. 40 years old. Oh. Nope. Sorry to bum everybody out, but hey.
Bring It On turning 25, Fright Night turning 40.
I know. And remember, end of the month, Tiff is going to be back in a couple weeks too, but end of the month, Carla, Kim, and Tiff will be back to talk about 1978's Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween. So until next time, remember, it's a fandom thing. Black Lives Matter, Stop Asian Hate, and Free Palestine.
Doug. Limu and I always tell you to customize your car insurance and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. But now, we want you to feel it. Cue the emu music, Limu. Save yourself money today. Increase your wealth. Customize and save, we say. That may have been too much feeling.
Only pay for what you need at LibertyMutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Savings vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.